Last Saturday, Jamal Adams got traded to the Seattle Seahawks along with the fourth-round pick for safety Bradley McDonald, first and third-round picks in the 2021 NFL Draft, and a first-round selection in the 2022 NFL Draft. This helps the Seahawks as they can make a deep run in the postseason. So for this trade, what is the Seahawks ceiling with Jamal Adams on the team?
Well, to me, I think it's the NFC Championship game and maybe the Super Bowl because I think Jamal Adams is the best safety in the league, and I think he beats out players like Justice Simmons, Earl Thomas, Tyrann Mathieu, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Derwin James. They're some of the best safeties in the league, and I think Jamal Adams is the best. And they made the divisional round, the second round of the playoffs, with a defense that was 23rd in yards allowed per game, 20th in touchdowns allowed per game, and 19th in points allowed per game. So you can tell that the defense performed at a less than average level, even with a couple stars. And Jamal Adams, the thing about him is he's not just a pass defender or a run defender, but he's a complete NFL defender because you can literally plug and play him anywhere on the field and he will make an impact. There's stats out there that say that he's lined up, he spread his time around on the field for the Jets, lined up as safety, cornerback, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, slot corner. He's played a lot of positions for the Jets defense, and he can make such an impact from all around the field. And I think he's a huge boost to this defense, who I think will now be a top 10 defense in the NFL. But the only reason I think they will make the conference championship and not the Super Bowl is because there's just too many other teams that also have a Super Bowl ceiling in the NFC that are better than them as well. And I think that unless DK Metcalf, their wide receiver, takes a huge step forward that no one saw coming, I think the NFC championship game is their ceiling.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that point. Adding Jamal Adams was a great move for the Seattle Seahawks because their defense wasn't so great. They had an amazing offense with DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson, and all they need is defense because they were 22nd out of all NFL teams defensively last year. And adding Jamal Adams really helped because the Jets were ranked 16th, and we know they're not that great of a team. And so adding Jamal Adams can really elevate the defense because, like you mentioned, he can get a sack when you need him to, or he can get a pick six and help you on the defensive end, and that will really help Russell Wilson as he can rely on Jamal Adams for him to make plays or defensive plays or stops in the clutch, you know. So that really helps them. But they will for sure make the playoffs. That is undoubtedly a non-question because they will make the playoffs. It's just that can they make it all the way to the Super Bowl? Because they've done it before the past decade, and I think they possibly can. But it just matters where the other NFL teams are because we saw a lot of players opting out, and with those players opting out, you may see some key players opt out. So if that happens, I think I agree with your point on they can possibly get to the Super Bowl, but if players opt out, then you can for sure give it to the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There are definitely some key players that might opt out for different NFL teams, but there was one key player on the Seattle defense that still is a free agent, Jadeveon Clowney. Now, he only had 3 sacks last season, but that's because he switched sides on the defensive line. Do you think that they still have a chance of signing him to maybe a cheaper deal now that their defense got better and he might take a pay cut to earn a championship?
I think that for him that he wants to. I think his top options are the Saints and the Cowboys. So I don't know if the Seahawks are in conversations with him anymore, and I don't know if they'll be able to have the cap space to sign him or sign him to a cheap deal because I think he thinks he's worth a lot more. And if I think some teams like the Cowboys or the Saints, if they can make cap room, they can sign him. But for the Seattle Seahawks, I don't think they'll be able to sign Clowney.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But Do you think that this Jamal Adams move, what part of their defense do you think will be helped most, like their run defense? Because even though he's an all-around player, he's still a safety. So what do you think will be benefited the most from him?
I think he'll really help everyone around on the defensive end because he like I said before, he can get you a sack whenever he needs to. He can get you a pick six. So I think it's wherever you insert him and wherever he thrives most. I think that if you put him in a certain position for this entire season, he'll benefit there and he'll have a lasting impact on the field.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. He's a game changer that will definitely help them reach their Super Bowl goals.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, Jamal Adams was traded for 2 first and a third round pick. This is exactly what the Jets wanted in return for Jamal Adams. It's hard to tell who got the better haul, but for you, who won this deal?
Well, for me, there's so many moving parts that like have many complications that it's hard for me to decide right now. And it really depends on how each team uses what they got in this deal. Because I think Jamal Adams, you only acquire him if your team has Super Bowl potential. And we've already established that the Seahawks definitely have that. And right now, I can't tell, like I said, until I see how the players that the Jets choose with those 2 first-round picks perform. Right now, I think it's a fair deal. It was a win-win deal. I think the Seahawks, on paper, they gave too much because really the Jets originally only wanted 1 first-round pick and 1 third-round pick. But giving them 2 might be costly. But the first-round selections from the Seahawks are usually in the mid to late 20s because of how successful they are in the playoffs. And it's basically like they took Jamal Adams with the 6th pick. So it's basically trading down like from a 6th pick or something like that to mid to late 20s picks. So I think on paper the Seahawks gave too much, but the Jets also got a starting caliber safety and a 3rd-round pick in Bradley McDougald, the starting caliber safety. I think he's a good safety that can have somewhat of an impact. He's not one of the best players, but he's definitely not bad. And I think the picks that they have do have a lot of potential, but since the Jets are the one choosing, I wouldn't be surprised if the selections aren't so good. So, like I said, on paper, Jets won, but in real life, we're going to have to see.
Yeah, and right now it's kind of tough to tell who won the deal. But I think the Jets got exactly what they wanted and more with 2 first and a third-round pick. And I think it depends on what happens this year or next season even possibly because if the Seahawks win the Super Bowl this year, I think the Seahawks completely won this deal. But if they don't and Jamal Adams walks, it was a huge blow on them as they dealt 2 first. And those, even if the Jets don't draft well, they can still get a good player in 2 first-round picks. So I think that it's hard to tell right now, but you can tell maybe in probably 2 to 3 years. This is kind of like the same situation with Kawhi Leonard in the NBA. He got traded to the Raptors, and people thought that was a horrible deal. But we saw that when the Raptors won the championship, it was the best move that the Raptors have made so far. And DeMar DeRozan didn't really show that he was a great player anymore. So if this happens with the Seahawks, I think this is an amazing deal.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. Even if the Seahawks win the Super Bowl, the thing is in the NFL, it will be incredibly great for them if they do win a Super Bowl because the Super Bowl ring is a Super Bowl ring. And I think the Super Bowl is much harder to achieve. A win in the Super Bowl is much harder to achieve than in like the NBA Finals, NBA championship, something like that, because of the element of you don't know what's going to happen because it's only one game. So I think that the Super Bowl is definitely a tough thing to win. And if they do win it, I think the Jamal Adams trade will be worth it. But I don't think that means that they will win the trade even if they do win the Super Bowl, if you understand what I'm saying. Because those 2 first-round picks, they can still get very good players because it's like 20s. It's even though it's like in the mid to late 20s, that's 20 out of hundreds of picks that are made, like 200 picks that are made in the entire NFL draft. So I think that it could really go either way, even into the future, even if if the Seahawks win the Super Bowl with Jamal Adams.